Oh, hey, I'm just looking for my smelling salts.
Dude, you know those are illegal now, right?
Damn it!
Get that stuff out of here! It's Southwest Bias!
Welcome into Southwest Bias live from Studio K, brought to you by our friends at Circle K. Become a member of the Inner Circle today by downloading that Circle K app. And something interesting came out of Cardinals camp yesterday. I didn't expect it. I don't think a lot of people expected it. Jonathan Gannon, head coach of your Redbirds, decided to announce that his starters are actually going to play in Saturday's game against the Kansas City Chiefs.
I told him last night they're going to play.
The starters are going to play?
Yeah.
What made you decide to change that up this year?
As opposed to 2 years this year?
As opposed to last year?
Yeah, I think it's the best thing for our team this year, honestly. You know, Teo, I think we're at a good point with our health. We're at a good point with our development. And I think that's, this year with our team, it's the best thing to do for our guys.
I find it interesting because Kyler Murray hasn't played in the preseason since 2021. And yeah, injuries played a part in that, but is there a bigger reason for this? I mean, he admits that they're not going to game plan for any of the three teams in the preseason, which isn't unusual, but is there concern that one of these units isn't ready for prime time? Is there concern that maybe the offense isn't clicking yet, or maybe that defensive backfield just isn't facing enough live fire that they have to go out there in the preseason and play? Maybe he just wants a faster start than they had last year, and playing your guys in the preseason will get them ready for what is a much easier start to the schedule than a lot of teams have. It could just very well be wanting to be prepared for that first game in New Orleans. But is the risk worth the reward? Injuries happen. We know that. We've seen it in training camp. I mean, in camp, the Cardinals have gotten injured. But is taking the risk by playing your starters in the preseason going to be worth the payoff? Now, if you walk away completely unscathed, no injuries, and you start the season off fast, everybody will say, hey, great thought, great move. But if anybody gets injured, there's going to be so much second guessing, which probably wouldn't be fair, but that's what's inevitably going to happen. If there is any kind of injury, Jonathan Gannon is going to get dragged for it. Because why are these guys playing? You haven't played them in the preseason since you've been here. What changed? I think it probably makes sense in terms of you need a fast start. You need to win 4 or 5 games out of that first 6, right? You need to get that offense in a place where Marvin Harrison Jr. Is clicking with Kyler and Trey McBride is up to speed. Trey Benson gets some run there. You need to figure out, is Zay Jones that third guy, that third receiver? Like, I get some of this. But if somebody gets injured, especially in one of those key positions, obviously quarterback, if Kyler gets injured, all bets are off. Knock on wood, touch metal, whatever your thing is, but that's the reality. If anything else happens in the defensive backfield, there's concerns. And that's part of football. Anytime these guys step on the field, that is part of football. I just find it interesting that Jonathan Gannon hasn't gone this route in the past. In year 3, he's decided to change it. I don't think it's necessarily something he's seeing on the field, but it did make me wonder that. Made me wonder, is there something at camp that they've seen that they just think they need to work on against other teams to actually figure it out. Next week, they've got the joint practice against the Denver Broncos and then the game in Denver. It'll be interesting to see how long the starters play in game 2, which is now the dress rehearsal. Back when it was 4 preseason games, it was game 3, but game 2 is now the dress rehearsal in preseason. But after going against the Broncos in a joint practice, it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fascinating to see on Saturday how long they play, how many series. Is it just one and done and get out and you say, hey, they got some reps? I don't know, but I do wonder why Jonathan Gannon has made the change. And my sneaking suspicion is it's because he's seeing something in training camp that he's not necessarily loving, that he then wants to get them out there against another opponent. But maybe that's just my Southwest bias. And coming up, we're going to talk to Johnny Venerable, who's live out at Cardinals camp, to get his thoughts. But I'm going to welcome in the temporary mustache behind the Mac, Noah. I thought Shane was back today. He did just walk in the studios, but apparently unwilling to produce the show. So Noah's here. Noah, you've been out at camp. What do you make of Jonathan Gannon deciding to actually play his starters in preseason?
Yeah, I think there's obviously a lot more factors than just one thing that goes into it, but this is just I haven't really heard anything like about what I'm going to say, but maybe just something that's going through my mind is that there are a lot of young guys on this team that are poised to be starters that haven't had a lot of game time action or are rookies. And so that could just be a factor of maybe like, let's just get them in for like a quarter to maybe a half of a quarter so they can get adjusted to how it is in a real game in front of fans in a stadium with that kind of atmosphere. That could just be a potential reason. Not the whole thing. But,
especially a guy like Will Johnson.
Yeah, Will Johnson.
I mean, and I guess you could play one guy out of your starters and not the rest, but I get it. But I want to hear the biased, what they have to say. Biscuits in the Bear says Isaiah Simmons spoke on how he and the other players felt they were not ready for the real game since they did not play any preseason games when he was on the Cards. Math to the Power of Joe, welcome back. Math says Cardinals need to get off to a good start this year if my predictions to come true, which, playing guys supposedly maybe helps. Game Geek, who was the first one in the chat today, we recognize it, Game Geek. Their Chiefs play theirs, so why not ours? Kojad says got to get timing down. And Owen says it's the exact opposite. He's putting the league on notice, Jonathan Gannon is. And then Ben says, game speed reps to try and start the season faster. I think all valid points. And I think all of them probably have a little bit of truth. I also think that there's probably a few things that he's seeing that he goes, you know what? I need these guys to get more reps as well. It's probably an accumulation of things, as Noah said. It's usually not ever one thing, but it's going to be fun to watch them play at State Farm Stadium on Saturday and see how long the starters go and how they look. I want to stay in football, though, because you know what? As part of the show, we're going to start giving you more of kind of the headlines, what's going on, what you might missed. And I was scrolling last night, and I came across one of the most epic rants in the history of Arizona sports. I think in the history of sports. It was Kevin Guy, the head coach of the Arizona Rattlers, the indoor football league team. They were in the first round of the playoffs against San Diego. There was a play at the very end of the game, which was basically, it wasn't basic. It was the deciding play at the buzzer. The refs screwed it up. It didn't go the Rattlers' way. And Kevin Guy had this gem to say.
I mean, our operations was bullshit. I mean, clock guy, the replay guy, they're fired. They won't work with me again. I tell you that right now. I got to have that information so we can make decisions. The flag was thrown, okay, for a false start, and then they went and reviewed it and picked it up, okay. I mean, it was just the whole thing was a cluster, okay, and you know, it just seems like we always get screwed at home at the end, all right. Don't really give a shit if the league finds me or not. Don't care. I'm so tired of the referees being a part of the game. I'm so freaking tired. He threw a flag for false start, then they go over there and pick it up. Okay, so At the end of the day, the clock. We thought the clock ran out. I'll go watch the game, see the film, whatever. But I am so tired of these kind of games at our place. Okay, we'll get into the meetings in the off season, and we need to put the whole referee system under review. Okay.
I'm going to go fire the janitors. I'm going to go find the parking attendant. He no longer is going to work for me. I'm going to find that guy that put the free T-shirts on the seats before this playoff game. He's gone too. You know what? My wife and I might have to have a discussion. I've never heard a coach, and he's also kind of the GM, the head honcho around there. I've never heard a coach suggest that he's going to fire basically the replay guy in the arena is now going to get fired. I get being upset with the refs, but I don't think I've ever heard a guy cross that Rubicon where it's like, we are firing arena employees because I need to know what's going on in terms of replays. I mean, this is a spectacular rant. I think it's one notch below Denny Green screaming about who takes the third game of preseason as BS. Right, I think it's a notch down from that, but that is in my pantheon of great rants. It's playoffs. It's those kind of rants. It's we talking about practice. Kevin Guy losing it on the replay guy and everybody else is fantastic. Unfortunately, I miss the Arena Football League where you had nets. Right, that's what I miss. But the Indoor Football League. Defending champs out because the refs screwed up. Oh, and this morning the league said, he actually was kind of right, but there's no precedence for us to overturn a game. So see you next year. That's something for sure. That is definitely something. Couple other things I wanted to take a look at. Look, we were talking Cardinals earlier. Real quick, have you seen the on-field hats that they're going to be wearing this season, including in the preseason? Why is the logo the size of a postage stamp, Noah? Why is it so tiny? Are they trying to hide the branding of the NFL?
I like it. I like it.
Why? Literally, that is the tiniest logo I've ever seen on a hat.
Well, it's a little bit more minimalist. It's just a style. No need to get so worked up over about it.
That's a style. That's a choice. I'll say that for it. Also,
I think it looks good.
We'll move on from that since you're not in my corner. Shane would back me up on that probably. Want to give a shout out to Alyssa Thomas, right, for the Mercury. Back-to-back triple doubles, and now she is the leader all time in the WNBA by far in terms of triple doubles. She has 18. Sabrina Ionescu, the closest, with 4. We're watching greatness there from Alyssa Thomas with the Merc, and she's got them off to a surprising season. So tip of the cap to you, Alyssa. And one other tip of the cap, it didn't come in a win. It was an 11-inning I guess it's a shellacking when you lose by 5 runs in extra innings. It's impressive. But it was Lourdes Gurriel Jr. hit the fastest pitch ever for a home run since tracking began in 2008. He hit a 104-mile-an-hour pitch out of the ballpark. That's insane. So I had to give him a tip of the cap there as well because that was impressive. On the other side of the break, I threatened you with it, and we're going to do it. Johnny Venerable going to be joining us live from, at least he claims, State Farm Stadium. Stick with us at Southwest Bias. Mountain America Credit Union. I got my style. You've seen him with the glasses. Noah apparently has his styles. He likes postage stamps on hats. But if you want your style when it comes to a checking account, Mountain America Credit Union and their My Style checking account is just what you need. You're going to get great deals on restaurant purchases, right? You're going to get telehealth, mobile phone protection. Who hasn't dropped their phone? I mean, This thing I drop all the time, just like that. I don't think I shattered it, but if I did, Mountain America's got me covered with mobile phone protection, telehealth access, identity protection, loan rate discounts, offers on travel and events, and so much more. Mountain America Credit Union has you covered. Make my style your lifestyle, not my style, their style. Make their my style credit or checking account your lifestyle at Mountain America Credit Union. Visit macu.com/mystyle to apply. Insured by NCUA, membership required based on eligibility. Some benefits require no cost registration activation. Terms and conditions apply and exclusions apply, like everything in life. And branded bills, I've told you about them. You see me wearing them every day. You see the hat on the table every day, the custom PHNX hat. If you are looking for custom headwear and apparel or great headwear from the Suns, the ASU Sun Devils, the Arizona Wildcats, even just state branded gear, they got you covered. And I said to him, look, I love our viewers. I love the biased in the chat. And I want to give them something. I want to give them a special deal. And my friends at Branded Bills said, you know what, Espo? We'll let you do that. What do you think about 5%? I said, no. They said, okay, 10%. I said, no, we love these people. It's not 10%. We're doing 15%. And they said, okay, we'll do that. If they use promo code BBPHNX when they check out. So head over to brandedbills.com, use the promo code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order. And he's here, and he's going to talk Arizona Cardinals football. It's the one. It's the only. Johnny Venerable, live from State Farm Stadium. Or I actually think it's a green screen, and he's sitting at his home, and he's just using a photo of State Farm Stadium because it looks too pristine behind you, Johnny.
No, it's real. It's real, and it's fantastic. You got me okay? You hear me all right?
Oh, I hear you perfectly, which, is good for some and, whatever for others, I guess.
Not so good for others. No, it's a banner day. NFL Network's here. They had a light practice yesterday. They figured to go hard today en route to preseason game on Saturday. This is going to be an intense practice, probably the most intense that we've seen in a week or so under John and Gannon. And I mean, that's the name of the game right now. This team feels the sense of urgency, and I'm sure we're going to talk into the preseason decision, Espo. But yeah, it's a banner day here in Glendale.
Look, we talked about it early in the program. I gave my thoughts, but what are your thoughts about Jonathan Gannon playing the starters in the preseason? And does that mean you and Bo are going to work a little bit harder with our preseason coverage?
Absolutely, 100%. That's immediately what I thought. I said, I have to up my game in studio on Saturday night. So not only are you going to get a post-game show, you're going to get a pregame and a halftime show with myself and Britton Golden. But no, I mean, listen, I think overwhelmingly the response from the fan base was positive. And I think that tells you everything you need to know. I think that if you're consistently putting up double-digit win seasons and postseason appearances, and I'll go back even before the JG and company, and you sat out the preseason, okay, people would be fine with it, right? Sean McVay never plays his players in the preseason. That works for them. The Cardinals said last year, whatever it was, didn't work for us. And so, 2023 Espo, that was an expansion-level bad roster, for lack of a better term, with all due respect. So you can't take too much away from that preseason. But last year they said, you know what, we're going to sit guys. Maybe we don't have the depth if people go down to get through a robust 17-game season. They do now. Gannon mentioned it, yesterday during the presser. Like, hey, players we're in a good spot health-wise. Also, you have to get down to brass tacks. They lost good players last year in practice, right? So whether it's the game itself, practice here in Glendale, injuries are a part of the game. They lost B.J. Ojulari and Darius Robinson. They felt the impacts of that. They didn't play in the preseason. So for me, it's just you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I want to see this offense against Kansas City and then the Broncos next week look like a different unit, an evolved unit with their elongated passing game and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Murray, the comfort level there. I think they need that momentum, and I think it starts this weekend, this Saturday in Glendale.
Do you agree on that depth portion, though? I mean, it feels like we've talked about the defensive backfield that obviously is depleted. There's been injuries with the wide receivers already. Are you concerned that maybe the depth isn't where they think it is and that this could be a decision that backfires if they're not careful?
I mean, like outside of like quarterback, who's got like a ton of depth at that position anyway. I do think they have depth. I mean, if Marv or Trey or Kyler Murray goes down, like those guys are irreplaceable to begin with. But like again, Kansas City's playing Mahomes, right? Justin Jefferson has played in the preseason before. Like I think they have depth on their offensive and defensive line. They've got depth at tackle. They're going to have depth when they sign Will Hernandez at guard. Hopefully later today, they have depth at corner that they've already had to use, elevating Will Johnson in the starting lineup. So to me, it's like I think Kyler Murray and company will probably play one or two series this weekend, and I expect that to grow maybe against the Denver Broncos. But I mean, if we're sitting here and we're worried about is Kyler Murray going to get hurt in a preseason game, we're having the wrong conversation. It's like, can we see Kyler Murray feel really good in this offense that gets us fired up so they can take the bull by the horns in week 1 against a bad New Orleans team and week 2 against a bad Carolina team and get off to a fast start? I mean, they've started 1-3 each of the first 2 years under Gannon. Now, I'm not putting that on the head coach or the GM. Like, that's part of a rebuild. They played really good teams last year to open up. Buffalo, Detroit, Green Bay, like they had a gauntlet schedule. Washington, we found out, was really good. This year, it's like, okay, we need to be able to take advantage of our schedule early, and we feel like probably this is the best way to do it.
The Steelers practicing back there? You building some scaffolding? What do we got, Johnny?
Yeah, I have a small fear of heights, so I'm not going to get too close to the edge. But no, people are getting things operational here so that the capacity crowd can come watch open practice, which, by the way, it's a fantastic thing the Cardinals do. Open practice, free, selling concessions. I brought my family here. You talk about just a wonderful environment. Cardinals, I know people are nostalgic for the Flagstaff training camp days. This is where it's at. Don't change this, Cardinals. This is A+.
I got to disagree with you a little bit. I understand people's concerns when it comes to Kyler Murray and injury, because I know there's a faction of people that believe there's only so many snaps in him in a year and that he's, quote unquote, injury prone. So I understand the concern. I don't think it should be fear necessarily. I don't think it should dominate the conversation, but I at least understand that. But let's talk about a position where we have seen some injuries, mentioned it a little bit before, but that wide receiver room. Marvin Harrison Jr. returned to practice yesterday. Obviously, Michael Wilson still dealing with the concussion protocol, but what have you heard? Updates on those guys, and how's Marv doing?
Marv looked great by all accounts via Bo Brock yesterday at practice. He's going to practice today. Again, I think people are like, well, Marv's got a knee soreness. He's out of practice. Everything that we've been told, it was just maintenance. Maintenance for a guy who's going to be on par to hopefully get 100-plus targets this year and have a breakout season. So, there's no lingering injury with Marv. Marv is getting force-fed the ball at practice, which that should be happening. And this is just a byproduct of, okay, went hard for about 2 weeks, have a couple days off. Now they're going to hit it hard, I would imagine, against the Chiefs and the Broncos with Marv, and then they'll taper it down. I can't wait to see Marv against Patrick Surtain next week or Trent McDuffie this weekend. Michael Wilson, precautionary, looks great, feels great. Again, will he play this weekend? I don't know if that's necessary. Zay Jones has been doing a phenomenal job. He can play outside. You can play Greg Dortch underneath. You could get somebody like Xavier Weaver, who a lot of people are high on, some additional looks. So everybody is on track. The Cardinals, again, knock on wood, in a very good spot, precarious spot health-wise. We're hearing Walter Nolan's recovery is going exceptionally well. He should be ready to practice sooner rather than later. Doesn't sound like he's going to need to go on injured reserve to start the year. B.J. Ojulari hopefully comes back maybe early October-ish. Just kind of depends on what they want to do there. And then Will Hernandez. They're going to be able to stash him away once they get him signed and have him ready to go mid-season stretch run as he gets ramped up. So, it's a team right now that has pressed all the right buttons this offseason. They're adding players right now to help them fortify their roster for what should be a division title chase. You hear the issues with Matthew Stafford getting injections in his back. The Niners are in complete shambles, right? We don't know about the Seahawks and Sam Darnold. It is all right there for the Arizona Cardinals to take this division. I think these moves reflect that.
Johnny, at our age, knee soreness, if it took us out, we'd never show up for our jobs.
Done. We'd be done.
Must be nice to be young, paid millions, and have a staff of medical people that are concerned about your aches and pains. How's the offense looked compared to the defense in camp so far, and what stood out to you from both units?
I think the defense is ahead of schedule because that's like the NFL and training camp. Most defenses are, but this defense it's so deep compared to years prior. I would be supremely disappointed if it wasn't like not just fringe top 10, like firmly in the top 10 in points per game. This was a unit last year that didn't surrender a touchdown at home for like 3 weeks. I mean, they're so well coached, and then now you have this influx of talent led by Will Johnson and Josh Sweat and Walter Nolan and Calais Campbell, and it's like sky's the limit there. So I think the Cardinals offense, that's supposed to be better for it, right? I think this offense, again, is still going to be very run dominant. But if you increase Marvin Harrison Jr.'s targets from, let's say, an average of 5 to 6 per game to 8 to 9, right, that adds up over a season. And you think about how many of those are going to be converted where last year, miscommunication with he and Kyler Murray, not confident in the routes that he was running versus where they're moving him around now. He's in the slot. He's underneath. They're putting him in motion. So I think, like, anybody who's expecting, like, wholesale changes, 11, 10 personnel, Cliff Kingsbury style, their moves didn't reflect that this offseason. They ran it back. They said, we're going to double down on the guys that we have here, and we're just going to get better, right? And they're banking on that. And I think, if you're in town in Glendale this weekend, I think Saturday is a great litmus test for that. I know a lot of people poo-poo the preseason. If the Cardinals come out and look sharp, competent, he and K1 look fantastic, guess what? People are going to be feeling really good about the opener. On the flip side, if the offense looks a little bit discombobulated and not buttoned up and it's a 3 and out, guess what? People are going to be like, you better get this corrected before week 1. I love that pressure. I think that's great for this team with huge expectations this year. They're playing 2 really good defenses this preseason. Great litmus test for what hopefully is to come during the regular season.
There are enough balls to go around when it comes to Trey McBride and James Conner and Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, can you in Drew Petzing's offense feed each of these guys the way that they need to?
I think the top 2 guys, and then I think everybody else. It's how often are you getting open, right? What's the the cohesiveness look like with Kyler Murray? Like I think Michael Wilson is probably one of the most underserved wide receivers just because of the offense he plays in. And so, like last year, I think he would tell you he did tell us on our show, on our set, he thought he'd be a 1,000-yard receiver. Like, can they get him more targets? Obviously, Marv is the priority. Trey is the priority. Like, that combination should strike fear into every opposing defense. That combination should consistently clear 1,000 yards and multiple touchdowns, double digit if you're Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyler Murray's never thrown for 4,000 yards, right? Like, is that going to change this year? He wants to run more. I think they're going to be Espo in the league more. Guess what they'll do then? Probably double down on the run. Probably double down on James Conner. So it's tough for me to say. I think Marvin and Trey are sure things in this offense. I think Kyler Murray is a sure thing in this offense this year to have 30-plus touchdowns. Then everybody else, I think you're a contributor. You're a role player if you're Greg Dortch and Zay Jones. To me, like the one intriguing name is Trey Benson, just because, God forbid, if James goes down, like, guess what? He gets his work share load, right? He gets to come in and take 60 to 70% of the snaps. No one else can really say that. So, I think this offense is great for fantasy football enthusiasts. It's very top-heavy, but at the bottom end, you're just rolling the dice with a lot of guys. So if you're coming to our draft party on August 28th, I would say maybe ignore the back end of the depth chart for Arizona.
I'll say this. Don't take Johnny Venerable's fantasy advice. I've watched him play in the league for multiple years now.
I got second last year. I dominated last year. I don't know what you're saying.
Second's just as bad as last because you didn't win at all. Johnny, my biggest concern this this training camp has been that you, Bo, and Noah haven't passed your conditioning tests yet. But what has been your biggest concern for Cardinals camp?
Biggest concern, I think, man. I don't know if it's a concern, but what's going on with Jonah Williams? Can Jonah Williams fortify right tackle, or is that going to become a point of frustration for Cardinal fans like last year where he got hurt, right? Signed a big deal. Kelvin Beachum comes in, was fabulous. Take Kelvin out of the lineup when Jonah's ready to play, and Jonah was fine, but then the offense wasn't good. And then Jonah got hurt again against Carolina. Like, can they put together that unit? Because Jonah Williams is a better player than Kelvin Beachum. He's a really good player. But if he's not healthy and can't live up to those expectations, They weren't able, with all of the supremely gifted players this offseason, they exhausted their resources. They didn't have enough resources to add a right tackle, right? They were sniffing around Josh Simmons. You don't take Josh Simmons over Walter Nolan, even though Simmons is having a great camp for Kansas City. That's something that's probably put on the back burner for 2026. You've got Will Hernandez now. That's a coup. That's a benefit. Those are like first world problems now. You got Will Hernandez. What are you going to do with him on the interior? Tackle, I would be a little bit concerned about the depth there if Jonah Williams, again, isn't healthy and ready to go. I think that's a big test for Jonah on Saturday night against Kansas City's front, George Karlaftis and company.
He is Johnny Venerable. Get your 40 time up, Johnny, or I'm hosting on Saturday. You can listen to him on PHNX Cardinals at 4:30 today, and then you can catch all their coverage on Saturday for Game 1 of the preseason, halftime, and post-game. Johnny, always a pleasure.
See you, my guy.
Johnny will join us each week. That is another Southwest Bias in the book. Follow I don't even know what his handle is, but he's the temporary mustache behind the Mac. At Shane Deef will be back tomorrow. You can follow the show at PHNX_sports, and you can follow me at Espo. And remember, football's back, so no matter what happens, we're better for it. Ahoy, hoy.
We all silly like the mayor.